Welcome to another movie plot and enjoy the memories. We open in the near future with the Earth recovering from an apocalyptic event. Some cities still remain like the one where our protagonist Sam resides with its heavy focus on recycling old tech. To blow off steam he goes to the Glue Glue Club where singles try to get dates by showing highlight reels of their sexual encounters. Morpheus drafts up full penetration contracts that interested parties must agree upon because in the future we aren't taking any chances. Single Sally shows Sam her desperation reel but he's just like, oh that's nice but I only came here for the drinks. He's already got a woman at home but the problem is she's a Cherry 2000 model sexbot because Sam has given up on the flesh and blood thing. A robotics company built fembots to avoid the bureaucracy of meetings with glue lawyers and men like Sam have never looked back. They can even cook dinner and although Cherry speaks like a generic chatbot listing off pointless trivia Sam doesn't seem to mind. When she's doing the dishes Sam decides to jump her chassis but they don't turn off the bubble-o-matic and it overflows the sink. While rolling around in the suds Cherry short circuits because Sam never realized that his wife isn't waterproof. He takes her over to small appliances where Slim says that Cherry experienced an internal meltdown and is now just a paperweight. Her memory disk is salvageable however since they don't make 2000s anymore Sam will have to stick it in something secondhand. On the Android Pimp's showroom floor he has some newer models like the Cindy 990 or classics like Robbie and Gort but the Bambi 14 will get you thrown in jail. None of them do it for Sam because apparently a Cherry model is like slamming an octopus. He decides to find a replica so Slim tells him about a defunct warehouse in Las Vegas where some cherries are being held. With her memory disk stored in a playback device Sam grabs his guns and sets off into the desert in his little Tri-Hawk buggy. When the sun sets he pulls into the town of Glory Hole where the beekeeping hotel clerk has a bottled cat. She checks Sam in but he's told to leave any fembots outside after 11 because there's only so much the bedsheets can handle. Noticing they have a tracker in town he decides to hire her to locate a Cherry but upon learning it's a woman named Edith he changes his mind. This man is completely done with the fairer sex so he walks across the road to the saloon and asks for the legendary tracker Six-Fingered Jake. Everybody just laughs upon learning that Sam is heading to Vegas because the road is so dangerous except for Stacy. He claims to be a tracker so Sam offers him and his accomplice Earl 500 future bucks to take him to the Gynoid warehouse in Vegas. They walk out of the bar when the pair whip out their guns intending to rob Sam because they're just some random outlaw bums. Fortunately they're about as stable as a couple of dominoes so Sam runs back to Edith to say that he changed his mind about riding with women.
Got the job.
They jump in her heavily modified 1965 Ford Mustang and drive into the desert without headlights because Edith says she drives on instinct. As silly as that sounds the only time they crash is when Sam's behind the wheel and it's daylight but for now they come to a roadblock. He just drives straight through it shooting a bunch of people and avoiding their flamethrowers while Sam wears his little helmet. When the sun rises they pull over at a quarry to rest however they spot the Sky Ranch cult on the other side led by the friendly psychopath Lester. His subordinates rob a traveler then stick him back in his truck and send it off the edge of a cliff so Edith says they should get back on the road. When they come to a river crossing Lester has men waiting to ambush them with rocket launchers and a giant magnet for the car. Cultists crane game the Mustang high above the quarry while having a rocket shootout with Edith but they all seem to be highly inaccurate. When they all try fire at once from atop a plateau he pulls out Big Bertha and completely erases that part of the planet. She then climbs out and attaches a winch from the crane to the front of the car so that when it drops them they hold in place. She lowers them into a reservoir and they ditch the car when the line runs out but because Sam slips he leaves Cherry's memory disk inside. They tumble down into the water but are saved when along comes Six-Fingered Jake on a raft with a couple of pack mules. He brings them back to his cave which is filled with hundreds of toaster ovens which he uses to bake rattlers and a jukebox for the ladies. It turns out that Edith is his niece and tells Jake about their quest to find a sexbot for the tourist because he wore out the last one. Sam argues that there was also romance so Edith gets angry and storms off because she's begun to like Sam but he's in love with a dishwasher. Jake reminds Sam that there's more to love than hot wiring so while in bed he looks at E and thinks that maybe a heartbeat isn't so bad. Under cover of darkness they return for the car however Lester's men have set up an ambush and one of the poor mules gets shot. Sam gets knocked over the head and wakes up at Sky Ranch where he's told that Jake and Edith were killed and he was the only survivor. His ex Elaine who now goes by the name Ginger is part of Lester's cult who all just sit around in this strange desert resort. They've also brought back the Mustang and Lester says he wants Sam to join his gang but they spend the night torturing some dude named Skeet. They just kidnapped him off the side of the road and make him join them for dinner with Chet who's been following Sam since the glory hole. When asked why he's out here Sam tells Lester about Cherry but not about the memory disk which he still thinks is in the Mustang. Eventually Lester gets bored, so he sticks a target on Skeet's head and stands him against a wall for archery practice. It only takes the one arrow right to the face, as it would with most people, so that night Sam gets the hell out of Frogtown. He distracts Chet with a look a shooting star, then knocks him out when Edith shows up and steals the guy's hat for some reason. She's come to retrieve her car with Jake, who says that Cherry's memory disc was in the lost saddlebag of the dead mule. Feeling like he just lost her forever, Sam wants revenge, so he pours gas all over Sky Ranch while Edith keeps it a secret that she has the disc. Reclaiming the Mustang and setting the place on fire as they drive away, Jake must just wander off into the desert with his mule. The whole clubhouse burns to the ground by morning, and Sam gets so distracted watching Edith sleep that he crashes into a rock. They get out and almost immediately begin making out, because nothing gets them hotter than nearly breaking their necks. When Edith accidentally activates the memory disc, Sam can hear Cherry's voice, so he wants to know why she lied to him. She says because she isn't a machine and can do what she wants when a couple of Lester's men catch up looking for some payback. Edith just pulls out the silenced Ruger to make sure nobody hears her, then takes out their truck, and now she feels better. One turns out to still be alive and throws a grenade at E, so Sam dive rolls over to throw it back and saves them. With the goons dead, the pair continue until reaching the Last Chance gas station with a side of girls. The owners Snappy, Tom and Randa catch them with the old refrigerator trick when suddenly Jake arrives to save the day. He and Snappy go way back, so everybody puts their guns away and Edith finds a plane that they can use to reach Vegas quicker. However, as she's repairing it, Snappy and Randa sell them out to Lester, but Edith gets the plane working before the cult arrives. The couple try to distract them with a big bowl of macaroni and cheese, which would definitely work on me, but Edith notices Lester on the horizon. They attempt to flee when Randa the little psycho shoots Jake, then stands on his back and executes him with a pepper box. There's a brief firefight with Sam, but he manages to make it onto the plane with E, and they take off right before the gang arrives. Lester isn't happy that they killed Jake because he wanted them alive, so he shoots Randa in the head, then apologizes to Snappy.
Sorry, Snappy.
Meanwhile, Sam is ready to give up, but Edith says if they don't find a Cherry, then Jake died for nothing, but he still kinda did. They arrive at the ruins of Las Vegas and land at the robot warehouse, which is actually the showgirl's backroom for the Pharaoh's casino. Belaying themselves down through the skylight, they find hallways full of various models, so begin searching for a Cherry 2000. They all look the same to E, but Sam locates a functioning Cherry and pops the memory disc in it to resurrect his wife. They immediately begin making out without Sam even knowing where this fembot has been or bothering to give it a hose down. Soon Lester arrives and tells his gang that life's an adventure and to be friendly yet firm, but they're under orders to shoot on sight. They descend into the casino and open fire, but seem to hit everything else in this place but their actual targets. Cherry is only programmed for housekeeping and sex, so is incapable of adapting to the situation, unlike Edith and Sam, who shoot their way out. Exiting the casino, Sam sees Lester just standing there, so shoots him, and the three make it safely to the plane. He manages to survive, however, and the three's combined weight prevents the plane from taking off, so somebody has to go. Instead of just cutting off one of Cherry's metal legs or something, Edith sacrifices herself and jumps out just so that Sam can go shag his toaster. He gets lift off, but looking at the blank stare on Cherry's face, Sam is already missing the interactions that he had with Edith. She's currently in a shootout, so he swings the plane around and lands, then tells Cherry to grab him a Pepsi from the casino. Edith jumps in and they take off again, but Lester thinks it would be a good idea to lasso the plane and go for a ride. He dies when crashing into a pair of fun bags on the showgirl statue, then dangles there on display, but Ginger doesn't seem to mind. She just shares the sandwich that she made for him with Cherry instead. While on the plane, Edith asks Sam why he came back. He says that Cherry is only a machine, which is what she's been saying this whole time, and the two kiss while flying over Jake's mule. And the movie ends.